Hi everybody, Michael Snyder here, Seattle weather guy. Just thought I'd go over a little bit of what to expect next week on in next weekend as far as the heat returning for Western Washington. As you can see, here's a system that's moving through today and creating some rain, mainly for the Cascades and up in the convergence zone. This might drop a couple tenths of an inch of precip overnight in the Seattle area. The HUR has very little, the NAM has more, about 2/10 of an inch. I know that we could all use that rain before we go back into the next heat wave coming up this week. So let's take a look at some of the ensemble members here. You can see the European model has us with about 4 days above 90 degrees. So that's a pretty significant heat wave for Seattle. This is still highly unusual for Seattle to get a heat wave like this. We've already, of course, had the greatest heat wave we've ever experienced for the Seattle area and most of the Puget Sound just last month, actually late June. And looks like we're going to have another significant heat wave here. Some of the European control runs are showing, upper 90s, near 100 degrees. And some of the ensemble members are less than that, and the mean is more like the mid 90s, mid lower 90s for about 3 days. It's probably what we're going to end up expecting. As far as ensemble forecast, what do I mean when I say an ensemble forecast? So basically you have your control run where you take what we think are initial conditions now, and then we run that model out and just kind of see what the forecast shows. And then with ensemble forecasts, you can take those initial conditions and you can tweak them just a little bit, and you can change them to try to correct for our errors in our initial condition assumptions. And then we let those run out. So you can see here there are 50 separate ensemble members for the European model here. So you can see we have pretty good confidence we're going to be somewhere in the mid to low 90s at least, and possibly even higher in the upper 90s. And that could go on for about 4 days there, as you can see. That would be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Looking at the GFS, we have 1, 2, 3. We're looking at about 3 days on the GFS. But one of the control runs here has over 100 degrees, and that would be for Friday night. So, we'll watch for that, but I expect low to mid 90s probably for those 3 days. And you can see the GFS runs about 30 different ensemble members here. And you can see the mean here is the green. It's kind of an average of all the ensemble runs. The control is what we think the initial conditions are, and that's just run out, and that model's just left alone. And you can see one of those control members has over 100 degrees for the GFS. So that's what we're talking about when we say ensemble forecast. Taking initial conditions, tweaking them a little bit, and letting those individual members run out so we can see. It kind of gives us a variation, a range, where we can see what we're likely to expect versus what is possible. And the more closely bunched those ensemble members are, the higher our confidence is in any single forecast. So let's look at what we're dealing with here. This is tomorrow morning, about 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. You can see nice cool air aloft. The system's kind of chugging through, probably still getting some rain here at SeaTac. It's going to be nice out tomorrow morning if you like cool weather. And then as we go into next week, check that out. That's Thursday. This is now. So you can see this heat just extends well offshore. Thermal trough gets going. Not a typical thermal trough. Looks like it's going to be further even offshore and more widespread than the last one. It's not going to be hot, not as hot as the last one, but you can see that the temperatures aloft are very warm. And you go into Friday here, and you're looking at almost 80 degrees at 5,000 feet. Pretty impressive for Western Washington. We're starting to get into Sunday, and then Monday things start to cool down again. As far as smoke is concerned, let's take a look here at 500 millibars. This is 18,000 feet. You can see this low pressure that's swinging through this upper level low, swinging through our area now. As we started to go into Monday, you can see we're still at northwest flow aloft. Monday into Tuesday, you can see the big ridge building offshore here. That big ridge of high pressure is what's going to bring our heat wave. You can see that wind start to shift a bit offshore at the upper levels there. You can see if, depending on how British Columbia gets out of this, it got some pretty substantial rain, so maybe some of those fires will be helped extinguished, but depending on how those fires do and if they bounce back, there's a lot of smoke in British Columbia that may be introduced into our area. Tuesday and Wednesday. And then as you can see, as we get into Thursday, we're pretty well offshore. So hopefully BC isn't too, the fires have calmed down a bit with this latest system. And if you notice to the south here too, if the California fires are still going strong, I know some of the smoke's going to be coming up here through Oregon. And you can see that southerly winds, and now there's a straight line from California, south winds aloft. It's going to bring up a lot of smoke if there's a lot of forest fire activity still going on in California. So we'll have to see how that plays out. That's going to mess with some of these forecast highs, because we're not going to get in the 90s if we have a thick layer of smoke above us. It's not going to happen. We're probably going to be stuck in the mid 80s with a smoky sky. It doesn't look like we're going to get too much at the surface right now. That can change, especially depending on how the British Columbia fires are as we get into next week and next weekend. And if we look here, let me bring this to, we'll bring it more to the surface here, about 2,500 feet. You can see on, what is it, Wednesday night, you can see like the Fraser River outflows going. You can see full offshore winds going on here. So if we have British Columbia fires going on and this smoke introduced, it could be pretty surface level based, and we'll just have to see again how the British Columbia fires pan out. But there is chance for surface smoke next week. The good thing is though, once we get past next weekend, you can see here this next trough approaching our area, and then the onshore winds come back again here. So that's what we're looking at. It's a pretty substantial heat wave by Pacific Northwest standards, but again, it's not going to be as bad as late June, so that's good. And we'll just have to see how the smoke plays out. It's going to be tough to see just how much of those British Columbia fires have been quenched, and how much of that southerly flow from California is going to get up over that, and if any surface smoke will get into Western Washington. It's still kind of up in the air, but yes, keep checking back with my tweets. I'll keep updating the forecast, and if you guys will like these videos, click like and make sure to subscribe. All right, talk to you guys later.